Welcome to the Round Rock Ward podcast. Today we have a special guest, Cindy Hinckley, who has recently moved back into our ward. Welcome, Cindy. So, can I ask, you've lived in the same house but recently just came into our ward. How did that happen?
Well, the way that it happened is that we have been in this ward since 1998, and we've never moved out of the ward. But a few.
Ask her how she got to BYU.
Oh, okay, good question.
Go.
It's a great story.
Okay, that's coming up. Okay, so you've lived in the same place since '98.
Yes, we had lived. I'm a Texas native, first of all.
Okay.
And Kevin is from Layton, grew up in Layton, Utah. And we met each other, BYU success story. We met each other in the same family home evening group. And I am 2.5 years older than him, and he thought I was a fascinating older woman. But that's not really where we want to start here. So we have been in the ward for a long time, not as long as a lot of people in the ward have been in the ward, but we had I had graduated from BYU, and I went to work teaching work skills to people with intellectual disadvantages, and so I was just living in Provo and working and having a great time. And when I met Kevin, like I said, I was a college graduate, and he was a third semester freshman. And like I tell people, I look a lot smarter than that, but apparently not, because I fell in love with this younger guy and went through many years of college with him before he was done. But we moved back and forth between Utah and Texas, and this last time in 1998 was the last time. We seemed to be here to stay. But about 3.5 years ago, we were called, Kevin was called to be a counselor to a brand new bishopric in the YSA ward that meets in Meandering Ward there in Dallas or Richardson area, whatever you think it is there. We were there for 3 years. And when we got back, we were at a completely new ward, the Round Rock Ward. We had been in, the Round Rock Ward. We had been in the Dallas, oh my gosh, I'm having a terrible time doing this.
They've switched everything on us.
Yeah, we had been in the Plano First Ward for, since 1998. And when when the bishopric in the YSA ward was released, we came back to the Round Rock Ward. And it was a ward, it seems like there's a handful, almost, just a handful of people who were in the Plano First Ward. Wow. And it seemed like most of the people were from the Third Ward. And I guess there was more than a handful of people that were from the First Ward. But it seemed like it was overwhelmingly one way instead of the other. And people had moved out during COVID. I always called it during the cover of COVID. People had moved out of the ward, and people had passed away. And then, of course, people had moved into the ward that we didn't recognize. So when we came back into the ward, except for that, what seemed like maybe a big handful of people that were still, from the Plano First Ward, it seemed like a ward that was hard to recognize anymore. And so we love all the people in it. We just don't know most of them. So we've been back in the ward since February.
Okay.
So.
Wow. And you haven't moved, and all these changes happen.
Yeah, all those changes. When we first moved into the ward, we lived in a rental house here in Plano, but we were there for a little while, and then we've been through in the house that we're in now since 2004.
Okay.
And we're in a 3-generation household. We have some of our family living with us.
Okay.
So,
and a hopping business I need to ask somebody about. Is that right?
and
Like a sourdough bread something
oh
or
yeah,
other.
my daughter-in-law Michelle, she has what I call a micro bakery there in our home, and she makes all things sourdough, and it is very hard to keep my weight off, I have to tell you.
I can imagine. We might have to ask her a few questions. That'd be great. Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. Kevin said we have to ask you how in the world an East Texas girl got to BYU. What was the story there?
That is a good question. Let's go back to my family that I grew up in.
Oh yes, please, let's do it.
My mom was a California girl, grew up being born and raised in Fresno, California, and my dad was an Oklahoma boy. And but his family, as so many families were back in the days, somewhere around World War II. Okay, so many people in those days were moving from Oklahoma and Arkansas and all around the United States to California. And my dad and his brothers and some friends had moved up to California, where he met my mother, and they fell in love and got married and all of that. And after my sister and my brothers were born, he decided that he wanted to move his family to Texas, where his father had moved from Oklahoma to Texas. And so he moved his family there. And so I'm the only native Texan actually in my family, of which I'm quite proud. And anyway, I grew up there. And when I was born, my mom was a member of the church. She had been tracked out by missionaries in California, and my dad had not joined the church at that time. But when I was born, there wasn't any place close that they could take me to be blessed, be given a name and a blessing. And the closest place was a little place called Pittsburgh, Texas. And that is on the way to Texarkana from where we lived. And so they took me there, and I was blessed. When my brothers were of baptism age, they had to be taken to Gilmer, Texas, to be baptized. When I was baptized, the ward over on Keast in Dallas had been built, and it was the Stake Center, I believe. But I was baptized there. But we had to go 80 miles in for me to be baptized. My father had a dairy when I was a little girl, and he had the state of Texas changed the chemicals you had to clean up your dairy in with, and he landed up in the hospital because he was allergic to those things. So he had to get rid of the dairy. He kept all of his land and traded out his dairy cows for stock cows. And I grew up very much a country girl, even though he had a service station now in Sulphur Springs. And I grew up working in that service station from the time I was 13 until I went to BYU. And so interesting, this little school that I went to was basically a school for dairy farmers' kids. There were 10 kids in my graduating class. The school went from first grade until 12th grade. The first 3 rooms in the school, it was a big long hallway. The first 3 rooms in the school were the elementary school. First and second grades had the same teacher. Third and fourth grades had the same teacher, and fifth and sixth grades had the same teacher. And then right down the hall by the water fountain was the junior high.
Oh.
And it was just a one-room thing. I believe, if I remember right now, we stayed in that room, but our teachers came and went, a couple of teachers. And then the last 4 rooms was the high school. And they got to go from room to room.
That was what the big deal in senior high.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, there were no music classes. There were no foreign languages or anything like that. What you was offered was what you got to take. There was no. We had Future Homemakers of America, and we had FFA, which was Future Farmers of America. And you didn't. Girls didn't go to FFA, and boys didn't go to FHA. You just took what you got offered. And so anyway, my dad had given me 10 Holstein calves when I think I was a junior in high school, and I raised those. Maybe it was when I was a senior in high school, but I raised those, and I was the valedictorian in my little class of 10, so I got a scholarship to go to East Texas State University. And so my first year in college, I did do that, but somewhere in the middle of all that, my family had not been active in the church for a little while, but in the ending of my senior year and the beginning of my college, I decided that I would really like to be active in the church again. And so I applied to BYU. Never occurred to me I might not get accepted. I just thought you pay your money and you go.
Well, yeah, you're the valedictorian
too.
Well,
I didn't have a scholarship to BYU though.
Oh.
And my dad told me, he says, I'm not going to pay for you to go to an expensive school like that. It was $300 a semester at that time.
Ooh,
But yeah,
so expensive.
yeah. And so he said, you've got those heifers out there. They were all expecting their first calves at that time. He said, you sell those, and he says they'll pay for your first year's room and board and tuition and all that kind of stuff. And he says, then you'll have to come home. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. And so I did. I sold them. And that's about what I got. It was enough to pay everything for my first year. And as my first year was coming to an end, I got a call from my dad, who had been following BYU football, and he had gotten lots of congratulations from people to sending me to a fine school up there. And they said, we've heard that kids don't get in trouble up there at that school and everything, and they're really congratulating him on this. And of course, he hadn't wanted me to go. But during that time period, somebody asked if they could rent the land that the dairy had been on, because we still had that. We still had a dairy barn, even though all of it was being unused. And so he thought, well, and nobody had ever asked that before in all those years. And so when he called me, he says, we have decided that we are going to use that money from them renting the land in the dairy barn to pay for the rest of your schooling.
Wow.
And so that was my miracle. I had a miracle. That was my miracle. And I got to go to BYU, and I got to learn about the gospel and take the religion classes and all of those things that in my little part of the country. When I went up to BYU, we were still meeting in the recreation hall of the Grace Presbyterian Church up in Greenville, Texas. And we didn't have a church building of ours. They have one now. They have one in Greenville, and they have one in Sulphur Springs now. And but they didn't back then. And so I had, other than going to a state conference once or twice maybe in my whole growing up, I had never been able to attend an actual LDS church building. And so I was so excited to be able to go to a real LDS church. And lo and behold, when I got to BYU, we met in a dance hall.
Oh,
on the
to make room for everybody.
On the BYU campus, because at BYU we didn't go at that time anyway. We didn't go to LDS church buildings. We just utilized the buildings on campus to have to have all that in. So anyway, so I got to do a lot of things by having the great blessing of going to BYU at that time period. Now, see, people wouldn't necessarily have to go to BYU now to receive those kind of blessings, but at that time period, in the place that I grew up, I needed that. Because learning the gospel at that time, some of it was good doctrine, and some of it was hearsay. I don't know how else to put that. But I was able to learn the doctrine, learn the gospel, meet wonderful LDS people in a way that I never would have been blessed to be able to do so in that time. I thought that getting married in the temple was something that Utah people did. It didn't. On a good day in our little branch, we might have like 15 people. And
Wow.
so this was something that Heavenly Father just seemed to pick me up out of my circumstances when I said that I wanted my life to change and put me somewhere where it could. And I will always remember that and know that he heard me when I said I want my life to be different. I want it to change. So he picked me up and put me somewhere where it could. And I love him for that.
That's beautiful to feel seen by the Lord and just taken care of.
Yeah.
That is so neat.
Yeah.
I bet that experience really helped you later in life, which you need getting through school as newlyweds, or raising your children and your grandchildren and seeing all of the life changes you've been through. Is that something that you refer back to often?
I think about that a lot. Yeah.
Wow. I guess a question we like to ask everybody is there something, a place you've been in your life, or something you've learned or been fascinated with that because you've studied that you have a special perspective, or because you've been there, you wish everybody could have seen what you saw? Does that bring anything to mind?
Ooh. Well, we've had the opportunity to travel a lot. Kevin was about, 15, 16, 17 years or so ago. Kevin was asked if he would like to take people out on, to different places, to Spanish-speaking countries, to Israel, to Rome, to all the places in the Holy Land, a lot of different places. I think we've been to. He may tell you this, but I think we've been to about 17 different countries. Now, because of that, we didn't seek it out. We didn't search it out to be able to do it, but it just kind of landed in our laps to be able to do that, and we feel so blessed that we've been able to have those opportunities, and we have had the opportunities to see people living in various circumstances in their lives. And it makes us realize the difference between the ways of life that people in different countries and situations have, and don't know exactly how to put this, but the responsibilities that we have try to be appreciative of the lives that we're being able to live because of where we do live. But also the people, the church members who belong in those places are still living the gospel in amazing kinds of ways, in ways that, we may take for granted the things that we have here. The way that we're able to go to our church buildings. I always thought it was kind of interesting the way that when you hear people say an invocation, and more times than not they'll say we're grateful for the building that we have here to go to church in, to meet in. And I think about when I was growing up and we didn't have those buildings. We might meet in a missionary's apartment, or we might meet in the recreation hall of a different church, or those people out on islands and places that made me just meet outside. It's really something that we have been given to try to think about and to appreciate and to see them as examples to us of how we could be doing a better job at the way that we live. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
not.
It seems like you feel a sense of greater gratitude in these places you visited, especially in the little branches or places that...
Yeah. Well, it was my growing up that was the little branches.
Yeah. Wow. That would be a great contrast to experience, having grown up in a small town and now you've been to so many
Yeah, I actually didn't grow up in a town.
Oh, okay,
I
in a
grew
farm? On a farm.
I grew up out in the country. Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't know if I mentioned it or not, I never really knew other members of the church. We didn't have any in our school at all, just my brothers and myself, so I didn't know any then, but when I was a little girl, we met I think I mentioned we met in Greenville, and even people from McKinney were having to go to Greenville to go to church because there wasn't a church in Greenville yet. And there were people from Royce City that went to Greenville to go to church, and there were just people from here and there and everywhere. Greenville was just the place that they could go.
Okay.
And so if I said that I had friends that were members of the church, they were, like, I had one good friend that lived in McKinney, but I only saw her on Sunday.
When you guys went to church.
Yeah, and that was it. And anyway, so is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Well, I do want to ask, how many kids do you have? Where did they end up? And how do you keep your family close when they're far away? Obviously, you have one of them still living with you.
Yeah, one of them lives
continuing
with
their
us.
story there.
Patrick and Michelle and Aria, who's 11 years old now.
And amazing on the piano. We heard her one time.
And she does play the piano. And our daughter Kendi and her family live in Salem, Utah. And our son David and Marie, they lived in this ward. They lived in the Plano First Ward for about, I think, 14 years, something like that.
Yeah.
They just lived down the street and around the corner from us, and they decided that it was time for her family to be able to have them be close to them, And so they moved under the cover of COVID, as I like to say. Anyway, so they're there, and
They have 5 kids?
they have 6 kids.
6 kids.
They have 6
Okay.
kids. And McKay and his family live in Princeton, so just down 75 here. And so all in all, we have 14 grandkids. So
Oh, what a blessing. And the oldest is how old?
how old is she?
Yeah.
Oh, she wouldn't like me to say that.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry, not your oldest child, your oldest grandchild.
My oldest
Is
grandchild.
that Evelyn, or is that...
No,
No.
that's not Evelyn. That
Okay.
is Lauren.
Lauren.
And
Okay.
Lauren has been on a mission, and she is married now. And I think that she is 22,
Okay.
maybe 22, something like that.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's wonderful.
And we have a grandson serving a mission in the Mexico City South, I believe it is, mission right now.
Well, that's a great place to be right
Yeah.
now. That's so exciting.
Yeah, and I know David's son, Edison, is going to turn 18 this year, and he's planning on a mission as well. So we hope that he will go and that things will just continue on.
That's so fun. How do you keep your family members close? What do you like to do as a family, or how do you reach out to them? What's been something that you've been successful with?
Well, this year we've been able to go to Utah actually quite a few times. And with one of our recent trips, we went to Peru, and we were able to take 2 of David's boys with us. So that's the only time we've ever done that, but to take a grandchild in one of those trips with us. So that was fun for us. And about the best we can do is phone calls and texts and things like that. So I wish I was better at it and more creative.
Sometimes it's
But-
those simple things, send a text.
Uh-huh.
Getting a text from grandma is so exciting. Sometimes that's so neat.
Mhm.
Well, I'm glad you're able to keep in touch. Is there anything else you could think of you'd like to share?
Probably that's enough.
Okay. Really appreciate hearing your experience, Cindy. It's so fun to have you guys back in the ward. And I look forward to everybody getting to know you too. See where the Lord takes us all together next. All right.